Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our second session in this series of exploring Jewish prayer, and we're happy you're with us. Some of you may be watching me on Facebook, others on YouTube, and I want to remind you that we will be having a discussion on this little short video on Sunday mornings at 11 o'clock in the Zoom room at Congregation B'nai Israel. Now, I wanted to bring to you today a particular idea about Jewish prayer, and that is that there are three types of prayer that we can find in our tradition. The first type of prayer that you may be familiar with is study. Now, Professor Rabbi Louis Finkelstein said very famously in the 1950s in an interview in Time magazine that when we choose study, we listen to God. We hear God talking. When we do other kinds of prayer, we talk to God. But when we study, God is talking to us. And we, in fact, include in our service various prayers that are really study sections. They're meant to allow us to think about something. There are passages that appear in other places. Another type of prayer that you are familiar with is petitionary prayer. And petitionary prayer is where we pray and ask for something, where we say, God, please give me this or allow me this. And yes, Jewish prayer is full of these petitionary prayers. And the third type of prayer, the one that you're probably very familiar with from our services, is our prayers of praise. But today we're simply going to look at one of those, the very first type, the type of prayer that's known as study. And the example I brought for you today appears on page 107 of the Siddur Lev Shalem, but it also appears in almost every traditional prayer book. It is based, although it's not a quote, it is based on a selection from the Talmud. See, actually, you'll see that we are provided in the very beginning of the service three passages of study. One from the Torah, one from the Mishnah, and one from the Talmud. Today, I'm just going to be looking at this passage from the Talmud, and it is based on the Mishnah that is just above it, and it is a section that is going to sound very familiar for you, and I want to read it with you. I'm going to put it on the screen now a little bit larger so that you can see it, and here is how it goes in English. These are the deeds that yield immediate fruit and continue to yield fruit in time to come: honoring parents, performing deeds of kindness and love, attending the house of study morning and evening, providing hospitality, visiting the sick, helping the needy bride, attending the dead, probing the meaning of prayer, and making peace between husband and wife. And the study of Torah is the most basic of them all. Now, this is a section of study, and you may say to yourself, exactly what is this supposed to teach me? what am I supposed to get out of this section? And let me suggest to you that there's a lot to get out of this section. There's a lot of ways of looking at it. I want to share with you one interpretive reading of this very same passage that gets at some of the ideas. I did not write this. This was written in a book known as the Happiness Prayer, written by a Reform rabbi. There are some parts of this that are very good, and others but we're going to discuss them. And here's how he interprets each one of these. Honoring parents. He suggests that this is a suggestion that we honor those who gave us life. And I do think that here in this morning prayer, here as we begin to pray, we cannot help but stop and think about those who were a major influence in our lives, who gave us life, who raised us, who nurtured us. It doesn't necessarily have to be parents, of course, parents in the larger sense. He suggests that performing deeds of kindness and love simply is a way of reminding ourselves in this particular prayer that the essence of who we are as Jews, the essence of what we do, is to have kindness and compassion. And over and over again, you're going to see that in the prayer book, that compassion being one of the main ideas that we have in our tradition. I just recently spoke in another class in another setting about this idea of how compassion works in our lives, and how compassion can really inform us in almost everything we do in our lives. It is such an overwhelming, almost obsession in our tradition, living life with kindness and compassion, a byword for who we are as Jews. In this interpretive reading, we also, the third in this list of 10 is keep learning. Attending the house of study morning and evening reminds us that we are always learning. We are always involved in study, and should always be involved in study. That is who we are. That is what we are as a people. We are a people who are struggling and who are learning and who are wrestling really with Torah for the whole of our lives. Providing hospitality, simply inviting others into your life. Visiting the sick, being there when others need you. Helping the needy bride, celebrating the good times. I would add to this, helping the needy bride is also means that we might look for opportunities in which we can help others who are in search of celebration fulfill their dream of being able to celebrate. I think that's a very important aspect of who we are, and I love the idea that in our prayer book we spend a moment reminding ourselves that part of our duty is to find those who need celebration and help them celebrate. I think when we come to a happy occasion, a bar mitzvah, whatever it may be, and we're there in attendance, we're helping the family celebrate. We're adding to that festive occasion. The next on the list is in the interpretive list is supporting ourselves and others during times of loss. I think this is very insightful, that we will all experience loss in our life, and being able to be there for others is so important. Praying with intention, exactly what we're doing now. Probing the meaning of prayer is what we're doing, but it also is allowing us, the more we understand about prayer, the more we understand about what happens when we open the prayer book, the greater our intention will be. The interpretive reading suggests that the idea of making peace between husband and wife simply is the idea of forgiveness. I'm not sure that that's what the author had in mind exactly. I think the author had in mind something more like the idea of saying, help others find peace in their life, but in order to help others find peace in their life, we may also need to find peace in our life. So forgiveness is really the way that we find peace in our lives. And finally, in this powerful prayer that is oftentimes overlooked because it comes right at the beginning of the service is this line, "And the study of Torah is the most basic of them all." The interpretive reading translates this as being look inside and commit. I would suggest to you that what is really being said in this prayer is to embrace the tradition of Torah, embrace the tradition that has been given to us, the entire tradition. Torah is not just the book, but Torah is also the rituals. It is the way we live life. It is the holidays. It is the Passover Seder, as well as the fasting on Yom Kippur. All of this is part of our Jewish tradition. And in this little paragraph that opens the service, it's at the very beginning of the service. By the way, we read this in the synagogue, usually in English, at 9:30 in the morning on Saturday mornings. Very often, our Torah discussion is still going on, and we get wrapped up in those Torah discussions quite often. And sometimes I'm in the sanctuary by myself, but it can be the most meaningful prayer of the entire service. I invite you to take a closer look at this prayer known as Mishnah Peah. It appears on the bottom of page 107, and internalize it for yourself, and perhaps even make it a part of your daily prayer life. Thank you.